Greetings! Let's make white grape and peach wine. Just a few quick disclaimers before we move on. Disclaimer number 1. Please be of legal drinking age for your respective country before partaking in alcoholic beverages, and please drink responsibly. Disclaimer 2. There are many ways to do this type of project, but this is how I found it has worked for me. Disclaimer 3. I'm not a professional by any means. This is just me sharing my process to any of those interested. With all that being said, let's move on to the equipment we're going to be using. If you don't care about what your ABV is going to be, and you're only looking to just make the wine, here's what you'll need. A container. I like using a wide mouth mason style jar because I like to get my arm in there. It makes it feel like I get a better clean as opposed to like the small mouth carboys that need a brush. I don't like using the brush. I've actually cracked things trying to use a brush. You need a small measuring spoon and a large stir spoon. If you do care about ABV, you'll need the additional equipment as well. A wine thief to sneak a sample to test, and a hydrometer that is used to determine the ABV. I'll go over that a little more in depth later. You'll also need the following regardless of if you care about ABV or not. A siphon to transfer liquids from one container to another, sanitizer, and lastly, a sponge. I use this one only for sanitizing things. Some miscellaneous equipment, some small mixing containers for various jobs. With our equipment checklist complete, we can now move on to step 1. Sanitize, sanitize, sanitize. Using a brand new sponge and very small amount of dish soap, I washed and thoroughly rinsed the container before adding the sanitizer and water to sanitize the container and the equipment. Sanitizing helps give our yeast the best chance to colonize the container before anything else does. Step 2. Adding stuff. Once things have been cleaned and sanitized, we can add the ingredients. A list and amounts I used are going to be listed in the description. I put yeast nutrient in the sugar bowl before putting some of the bentonite into a smaller bowl and mixed in some juice, not water. Bentonite helps to clear the wine, or even beer if you're using it for that one, but needs to be rehydrated before being added to the mix. I find that it makes it easier to do it before dumping it into the wine. Step 3. Bringing it all together. While the bentonite soaks, the sugar and a few bottles of juice are added to the container to mix them thoroughly, making sure the liquid is clear before topping off. I added some brown sugar because I checked the SG ahead of time, but it's only going to be about 8 or 9%, potentially. Step 4. Checking the SG, or specific gravity. Using the thief, we can grab a sample to measure with the hydrometer. This first sample is called the original gravity, or the OG, and is a baseline for how thick the wine is of the amount of sugar that is in it. Once we have a second sample later on, I will do a much better job explaining this part. Once the bentonite has been rehydrated, we can add it, followed by our yeast. I let the yeast sit on top of the liquid, but I could have, or maybe even should have, just added it with the bentonite slurry. The sugars in the juice may have kickstarted the rehydration process for the yeast as well. I think. I normally just throw it on top, wait 10 minutes or so, and then come back and stir it all in. With one last stir, we put the lid on, and we wait. After only 24 hours, we have a layer of dead yeast and a lot of other stuff on the bottom. This is called the lees. Not harmful, and in fact, to make certain wine varieties with distinct flavor palettes, the lees is necessary. But for us, we will be removing it later in the video. Moving towards the top, we can see a layer of foam. From my experience, this is completely normal, and as long as the wine does not smell rancid or rotting, this is fine. In the past, I would let it sit, but this time I stirred it all again off camera, thought it was running, but apparently it was not. After a week, the foam has cleared, and we have some very nice CO2 bubbles being released. After one full week, the lees layer has more than doubled, a strong CO2 output is present, along with a very pleasant aroma from the juice and the yeast. If the wine here does not smell good, in my experience, it is best to seek help or err on the side of caution and just pitch it all together. I have done this on multiple occasions. If all is well, I will take my first sample and SG reading. Comparing the two readings, our OG is 1.086 and our current reading is 1.024, or 1086 and 1024 respectively. You might be wondering how I got those numbers. If we take a better look at the hydrometer, we can tell that each tiny mark is worth 2 points, for lack of a better word. Meaning we have 1.000, 1.002, and so on until we get to 1.100. With the basic reading out of the way, we can implement some math. Gross. The ABV formula for wine is ABV equals OG minus FG divided by 7.36 times 1000. Plugging in our SG, we can figure out where we currently stand on our ABV. 1086 minus 1024 is 0.062. 0.062 divided by 7.36 equals that number. That number times 1,000 will give us about 8.4%. Things are looking pretty good so far on that aspect. Looks good, smells great. Let's move on to the important stuff.
So we have our first sample. It is very cloudy, very hazy. But again, it's still fermenting, so you're going to have a lot of stuff in there. Like a lot of stuff in there still. But the good thing about having a sample is not only do you have an SG along the way or specific gravity, you can also, or how it's, you can check how it's fermenting. You can also give it a smell. I smell peach. I smell white grapes. It smells good. It doesn't smell rotting. It smells fermented. There's a very big difference between the two of those. Another thing is, you get to give it a sippy sip. Still a lot of sugar in there. That's okay. Oh, it's got a nice aftertaste though. Let's do that again. Just gotta do it twice to confirm my findings, you know? Okay, let it eat.
At the 3-week mark, we have a lot of leaves and a film on top, but it still smells good.
Hi, so we have our second sample. As you can see, it looks hazy, but it kind of is, but at the same time, it's actually pretty dang clear. I can see kind of the window thing through it and all that fun stuff, so we got that going for it. So, second step, smell test. I still white grape, I still smell grapes, I still smell peaches. Smells good. Give it a little swirly swirl, because why not? Because we're fancy like that. Alright, and now, the test that actually matters. Oh, that is good. Oh, that's good. That's real good. It's still young, you can tell. Needs a little bit of aging, but that is smooth. Yep. We got the white grape. We got the peach. This is really good. It's also at 0.999, which means it's under 1, which means all the sugar and then some is actually gone. So that is ready for the next process, which is called racking.
But before we do that, we're going to get our ABV again. For simplicity, let's just use 1.000 as our FG, or final gravity. OG, 1086. FG, 10, 1, whatever. 1086 minus 1, 0.86 divided by 7.36 gets that number times 1,000, and it's all off with 11.6%. And now, on to the racking. Racking is the process of taking the good stuff from the bad stuff. Using our siphon, we can suck out the wine into a second jar. I have already sanitized the siphon and the jar. With a couple pumps, we are on our way to transferring. I keep the tip well away from the bottom of the jar so I can suck up as little leaves as possible. However, it is inevitable that as you get lower, more is going to get in there. And if needed, another racking can, and in some cases should, be done a little bit later on down the line. Here's what we're left with after racking. Gross. 1 month from the beginning of the project and 1 week after racking, we are left with a decently clear wine. I'm going to let it sit a bit more before racking one more time and bottling on the same day. After bottling, I'm going to let them sit in a box for a few days before cold crashing. I waited another week or so to rack one more time, but I did not record it, and it is unfortunate that I did not because I made a very rookie mistake. When I was racking, I tipped the jar to get a better chance to get as much liquid out as I could. Unfortunately, when I did, I kicked up a lot of sediment and I lost almost a gallon. The sediment on each racking after the previous one will have increasingly more finer particles, which makes it easier to kick it up. Be very careful and move slow. There is no rush here. After almost 2 full months from the beginning of the project, we are finally onto the bottling stage. I normally do not wait this long, but I had one small problem. I didn't have enough bottles. I put my corks in a sanitized solution while I bottle the wine. Not sure why I do it. I guess it makes me feel as though I am sanitizing everything that will be in contact with the wine. Bottling is very similar to racking in that we are putting wine from one container to another. The same sanitization precautions are taken, and sanitizer is also ran through the tubing to ensure nothing is hiding in there either. Here I am demonstrating with one bottle before doing the rest in the boxes. Once the bottles have been filled, they need to be corked. Doing this is the most satisfying part, aside from drinking it, of course. The cork is loaded in the cork device, placed on top of the bottle, and with the depression of the handles, boom! We have our first bottle of wine. Congrats, but remember, you have more bottles to do. A couple other things I do, but not sure if anyone else does, is rinsing the bottles off, storing them in the boxes for a few days to hopefully get a little carbonation. Without back sweetening, though, it might not work. Once they have been in the boxes, I very carefully open the boxes to look at them, leaning away from the boxes and never putting my face directly above the box. This is just in case the corks are under so much pressure that the boxes are lifted up and the corks don't pop off and smack me in the face, basically. I've had many bottles pop their tops, but I almost always have them in the igloo or cooler that the mason jar was sitting in during fermentation. Once they have been checked for cracks in the glass, another sign of overpressurization, I place them in the fridge for a week to make sure that the yeast has been killed or will put into a dormant stage. This is known as cold crashing. When the bottles have been in the fridge for a while, they can be labeled and put back in the box or some other storage container. I've had varying success with storage. Most of my wines do not last 6 months for various reasons. Mainly I drink them, but I also give them away as gifts as well. Just because I make it does not mean I have to drink them all. After all of that, what are we left off with? About 20 bottles of 11.6% White Grape and Peach wine. If I had not had the incident with the racking, I would have gotten about 24 bottles or roughly 2 cases, and a commercially produced bottle of wine is roughly 13%. So we fell short on a couple things, but I think that overall, we did a really good job. But we won't really know until we taste it in a week or so. Alright, let's see here. What do we got? Blueberry, pomegranate, peach, mango, apple. What? Oh, there we go. White grape peach. This ought to do. So after a couple months of hard work, and just actually the hard part was just waiting, let's be completely honest. But now that we're done with our wine, we end up with boom. Look how clear that is. Hey, can you see my eyeball? Hi. Yeah, it's super, super clear. I am really happy with how clear that is. I like that. That's good. It looks really good. Let's see how it smells. Smells like white grape, smells like peach, smells like everything we want it to because that's what we put into it. There you go. Smells fermented, not rotting. Again, big difference. My glass is starting to fog up a little bit, so let's give this another smell. Smells really good. Give it a little pretentious swirl because that's what we do here. Oh yes. Yes, Monty, it just tastes amazing. Let's see how it tastes. Ooh, that is good. You guys, that's good. I taste white grape. I taste peach. I taste a good amount of both of them. Nothing's trying to outdo the other one. They're both just kind of hanging out and enjoying life, you know what I mean? It's a good one. I don't have a lot of aftertaste that's really bad. Actually, it's kind of a fruity aftertaste. I think it's more of a peach aftertaste, which is also really good. This is very good. Ta-da! I may have had a second glass off camera. Anyway, so bottom line, thoughts on this one. This is a very nice wine. It's very, very fruity, very peachy, very white grapey. Like I said, nothing's trying to outdo each other. Everything's just kind of harmonized and hanging out. That being said, let it sit for as long as you want. Drink it immediately. Doesn't really matter. Once
Once it's fermented and aged out to where you want it, drink it whenever you want to. It's up to you. This is 11.8%. Had we put some more sugar in there, it could have gone up to a normal 13%, 15%, whatever. There's also a thing called freeze distillation. Let me know if you want to see something about that. Dramatic pause is dramatic. Anyway, but that is going to do it for this episode of Doing Stuff with Chris, I guess. Just kidding. But that is going to do it for this little project we had here. Thanks for tagging along with it. It's probably a pretty lengthy video by this point, this one and the rest of the whole thing. But thank you so much for sticking along with it. Cheers. Have a good one.